Hello and welcome to the Mindset Alchemy podcast. Janine here. I'm delighted to have you. Yes, I know I did an intro and everything welcoming you before this, but today I am so delighted to welcome Tanys Coughlan from Twillow to come and chat to us. Tanys, thank you so much for joining us. And people, we set the intention that everything works. Tanys, over to you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Janine, for inviting me. So I'm Tanys Coughlan, and I am the founder of the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy here in Canada. We're international, but for the most part, we're working on that. And did you catch that part?
Yes, we did. We did.
Okay. I seem to have froze for a moment, but perfect.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. So I am a Reiki master, Aqualid master, Nocti master, Celtic Shamanic high priestess. I am a crystal healer and a channel and an oracle. So I do a whole bunch of, stuff.
I love that. You do a whole bunch of stuff. I love that you say Celtic rather than Celtic. I find that interesting because everyone has such a point of view about it. Could you share a bit about what you do as a Celtic shamanic practitioner?
Mm-hmm. So that's like ceremonial healings. So I do like journey work, ceremonies, so things like cord cutting, curse removals. We do ceremonies for the moons and, things like candle magic and, spell bags and talismans and all that fun stuff.
All earth-based magic stuff.
Yeah, it's magic stuff,
That's beautiful.
We're talking about alchemy today, so.
Yes, we are. I'm asking you. For those of you on the podcast and not the YouTube video, Tanys has a beautiful copper pyramid behind her. Would you like to share the significance of this?
Well, it helps to bring in more energy. So I will often set it up with my massage bed underneath it and crystals, large crystals around it to have a crystal bath. So I offer that as a service as well at times. And when I get it set up and everything, in the meantime, even if you put your chair under there and meditate, you just feel the energy coming in. You'll notice for those of you that can see, there's a crystal right in the center. And so that really, what it does is it brings all the energy in and down through the crystal. So you can just really feel very connected and in tune. It's really very beautiful energy.
It is. What led you to begin the Twillow Academy? How did you get to where you are today? Share with us, please.
Okay. So I spent 20 some years in home health care, started in the field, and then ended up in management and had two burnouts because, I didn't learn the first time. And and then after that, I was like, okay, I need to do something different. This isn't working. And so Spirit led me to a different option. Here in Ontario, we had what was called the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit Program. And so I was out one day with my husband and I'm like, this was after my last position. I'm like, I need to go in there. And he's like, okay. So it was the employment office. I had worked with one of the guys there as a manager. I had gone in to do speaking engagements and stuff. And so I went into the employment office and I was like, so tell me about this program. And he's like, well, funny you should ask. The deadline for the program is actually Friday, and this was like Tuesday or something.
Word. Cutting it down.
Yeah, well, that's why they were so insistent that day. Yes. I say they because I talk about the guides a lot. So my guides do a lot of guiding. Yes. And so I went in and I was like, okay, what do we have to do? And he's like, well, do you want to join in June, the June cohort? Or do you want to join? And this was like early May or something. Do you want to join the June cohort, or do you want to wait until September? And right away I said, no, I want to do it in June. And he was like, okay, let's get on it then. Let's get you going. And the initial application was huge. It was almost like doing a big business plan.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, by this time I had started taking training during my last positions as an HR professional as well. So I had just received my certification in HR, and I had just gotten my Reiki Master certification. So I was faced with the decision, do I start an HR business or do I start a Reiki business? And, you make decisions out of fear, out of discussion with family and friends and all of that stuff, right? So I decided I would do the HR because it was mainstream. Keep in mind, this is 7 or 8 years ago now. So, our energy healing world has grown a lot.
Leaps and bounds, yes.
Yes. So it wasn't as mainstream as it is now. So I went into this program and managed to get in after this huge process that you had to go through. And we get into the room to sign the papers to join the program. And the people that were running the program came in and they were really sad. Being an empath, I was like, what's going on? And they said to us that we're really glad that you're here because you're actually the last cohort.
Wow.
So if I had not chosen June,
yeah,
and I had chosen September, I probably would not be where I am right now, because entrepreneurship was not something that I thought I was even capable of at the time. So anyways, I started my business and everything. We're going along and it's a business to business, right? So it's a long sales cycle and all of that stuff. One Sunday morning, I get woken up with this whole download about spirituality in the workplace.
Beautiful.
Okay. And they wouldn't let me go back to sleep. I'm not a morning person. This was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, can I just go to sleep? And they're like, no. So I had to get up and write this whole article about spirituality in the workplace. And so I jump into that and write it. And then I go back to bed, of course, because it's really early for me. That afternoon, I get up, I go to a friend's place for tea. I don't say anything about the morning thing. And before I go, she's intuitive. Before I go, she says, oh, I have a book for you. And I'm like, okay. And she hands me The Idiot's Guide to Spirituality in the Workplace.
Don't you love synchronicity?
Well, I was like, seriously, we're name calling now? You just gave me the information this morning.
What a beautiful story. Well, actually, it's more than a story. It's a happening. That is gorgeous. So what was your next step after that? Because at that time, spirituality and workplaces were not mutually agreeable. They were more mutually exclusive in a lot of ways.
Exactly. And so after that, I that week, I brought the book home and I was reading. And then I had a counselor coming to look over my stuff for the program, right? Counselor, more of a consultant, business consultant. And she came and she was like, I was all ready for it, right? I had my quality indicator reports. I had my QuickBooks open. I was like process and manual ready and, my business hat on. She comes in and she goes, what are you going to do if you're not making enough money by the end of the program? And I had not been telling anybody that I did Reiki, right? Because I was worried I would be seen as woohoo. So all of a sudden, I'm like faced with the fact like, oh crap, I'm going to have to tell her. Do Reiki too? She's like, that's perfect. That's your differentiator, spirituality in the workplace.
I love it.
So I almost fell off my chair and I had to tell her the story, go get the book. So there was something about that flipped a switch for me. And I realized that I was quite capable of doing both. And I had a client during that period that was not, that I didn't resonate with. It went fine, it was fine. We got everything accomplished we needed to get accomplished, but it didn't have the ease of somebody that might be more resonant, right? So with that and this other, I found that I didn't want to, I decided I would just be true to me and be me and not worry about what anybody else thought, right? As soon as I did that and became more authentic, both businesses started to do better. So I launched the Twillow Lifestyle Community at that point, and it started to go well. And then we went in and I was going along. I still do both businesses, actually. They've switched proportions. I was doing mostly HR and a little bit of Reiki, and now it's like a little bit of HR, and I do mostly the Reiki business. And then for the school, basically, I mean, I did that till COVID, right? Then we had COVID, and I started doing everything online. And I had 4 people ask me if I would mentor them. By this time, I've taken a bunch of classes. So that's like a 6-year period or 5-year period, right? I've taken a bunch of classes, became a Celtic Shamanic High Priestess. I had, just been doing my own work, right? Like we all have to do. No matter who you are, you're always going to be doing the work.
Yes.
And
I had that.
They do. Yeah. And there's always stuff to do. You're always with. I mean, the healing path is all about self-discovery, right? It's not really. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was going to say, I interrupted you and you were getting to quite a crucial point, but yes, that is.
Yeah, it's okay. So I had 4 people ask me if I would mentor them. And so I went to them and I'm like, what does this look like? What do you want me to do? I don't know what you want me to do. And I was told to start a school. I'm like, okay, I'm already teaching Reiki. So, okay, I'll just start a school and see where it goes. So I started the Twillow Lifestyle Academy and realized as I was looking around me that I had a beautiful team of friends who all had their own talents in all different areas. And I'm like, we're stronger together. They each have their own businesses as well, but we're way stronger together. Like, let's do something together. So I have 9 other teachers now, teaching everything from sacred play to SRT, trauma release therapy, yoga. There's holistic nutrition, there's crystals, which I do, there's essential oils. So we have like a really wide variety of stuff going on. And I have a Celtic Shamanic High Priestess program happening. So it's just really come together. Like and it was like everything went smoothly, and this is how it ended up. And so now I am the proud owner of 3 businesses. And although the school is kind of more of like a subsidiary, right, to the Twillow Lifestyle Community. But I sort of see it as a third. They become your babies, right? So that.
But it is its own entity if you look at it, its own energy, its own everything. So yes, I would say it's separate, connected and separate.
Very much so. And so I have 2 other practitioners working with Twillow Lifestyle Community as well now. And, and our teachers are North American wide. So I have teachers in Seattle, in Illinois. I have ones out in Newfoundland. I'm in Ottawa, so I have a few in Ottawa. So it's wide, one in Montreal. So we have, they're really all over North America, and we do it all online, but they're live. There's a lot, the market's saturated with ones that are recorded and that you just purchase, and I get that that's less money, but you don't have the interaction. When you teach live, it's different. You get a synergy going with your students, right? And the teacher.
Yes.
And you're able, as a teacher, you can adjust, right, to what your students' strengths are or questions. And
I must say, I've seen that in various programs that I've run. Each group, it might be similar, it might be the same topic, And yet it winds up being very different with each group because they each bring their own energy, their own everything to it. And they have different requirements. They've had different lives. Something that I really love that I'm looking at here, people, it says TLC, Twillow Lifestyle Community. And that is very much what I get from you, is that you're all about tender, loving care. And that is one of the reasons when we work live, even when it's online, we're able to give that TLC directly to the person.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why if we do any that are pre-recorded, they will be not the main. I don't wish them to be the mainstay of the business, because for me, it's all about human interaction. And even online, as energy healers, we know we can do distance stuff. And with COVID, that was one of the things I found I could do, like pretty much everything online as I learned, because COVID was a huge learning curve for me.
Me too.
We had to start doing this kind of thing, which I'd never done before, right? I had to start doing video editing because I was doing podcasts and stuff. And then, learning to do all sorts of things distance. So I will do house clearings and everything distance, because I just learned to just go there, right? Energetically.
That's right. I'm very blessed. Actually, before COVID, I was already online for 3 years. So COVID made a huge difference in that people went online. They weren't expecting me to be in person here in South Africa. So it made a huge difference. You talk about doing a house clearing online. Would you like to share with the audience exactly what a house clearing is for those who don't understand what that is?
Sure. So we get residual energy stuck in the house, whether it's from an argument or stress or environmental things, right? Like chemical and that kind of stuff. And so, could be other stuff too, but I don't know if you want to go there.
I don't mind. Let's go there.
Okay, ghosts. So
people you can put your hands through, yes.
Yes, those ones.
Intangibles.
So basically I go in and clear out the energies that aren't supposed to be there, is what it is. And then
or causing mischief there.
Yes, or just making people feel heavy and sad, because sometimes it's just a matter of they've had a fight, they haven't really cleared it, right? So it's almost like allowing your house to take a deep breath. Interesting. Thank you. That happens often. They give me a phrase and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, it's kind of like allows your house to take a deep breath after a big thing, right? Yeah. So smudging would include using sage, or Palo Santos or incense. You could. Those are my top choices, anyways. I also use that plus holy water to spritz after, and then I'll do like an energetic gridding with sacred geometry on the walls to just protect and keep other stuff at bay.
It's so interesting because a lot of people feel saging is to, in inverted commas, chase things out. And yet they forget that actually saging is to bring source in. And it's source that clears the area. What are your feelings and experiences around this?
Yeah, I would say it probably does a little bit of both, right?
Yes, definitely.
It definitely clears stuff. I think that, any of the sacred herbs bring source in, right? So it's kind of one of those things. Are you bringing source in to clear, or are you clearing and then source is coming in? It's kind of like it's a bit of a cycle, right? There's a flow to it, kind of like the chicken and egg thing. Which one comes first? Do we care? We still have an egg. So it's, I would say that, source comes when you do ceremony.
Yes. I love that. Oh, say that again, please. Source
comes when we do ceremony.
My whole body just relaxed when you said that. That was just so beautiful. For me, very often people will clear their homes and forget to replace what was heavy with love or light or whatever they're working with. So thank you for sharing on that. That is very, very powerful. Now, I thought of about 10 questions while you were saying that. And now that I thought of that, the questions have gone.
Source.
Thank you. Bring them back. For
Yep.
me, that is quite an important thing, because it gets people to understand that there's more to life than the seen. There's very often the feeling. What has your experience been around picking up on other people's feelings? And how do you work with your clients and your teachers with that?
Yeah, so I'm an empath. I'm actually a physical empath. So I don't even just feel the emotion as many empaths
feel the
do.
physical, me too, the pain and everything.
Yes.
I resonate.
Yeah.
I've actually had childbirth that's not my own several times as a midwife.
Oh my, yeah.
Yes.
That must be tough.
It was an interesting point of view. And at that time, I didn't know about empaths and energy work.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. And, you know, there's a high propensity of physical empaths to be diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Yes, I've seen this. That is so true. And a lot of the chronic fatigues, not just fibromyalgia.
Yeah. And I was diagnosed when I was 21.
That's
so this has been my whole life, right? But didn't really fall into my path until later in life, right? So I've been on the spiritual path about 10 years. You know, 4 years.
We won't share
me a long time to later in life.
It took several years.
Anyway, not that I'm really worried about age, I'm just joking around, but it was definitely later in life when I started into this in my 40s and late 30s, early 40s. And so it was, you know, it took me that long to kind of figure out what was happening to me. And I was going through those burnouts and realized that I really needed to do something. And I went for my first Reiki session. And I had never felt so good. And that was how I got into Reiki. I joke about Reiki being my gateway drug to all of this, because it was, I went to Reiki and I had never felt so good. I'm like, oh my God, I need to learn how to do this. So that started my Reiki journey. And then everything just fell into place for me after that. I was like, I just get that the energy is there. And as I moved through the Reiki classes, as you raise your vibration, you become closer, right? So I always look at vibration. I am getting back to that question. This is a long finagled answer,
That's okay.
When we have like a range for our senses, right? And so if you look at your hearing range, so your hearing range is here, and the dog whistle that, you know, the dog's here, but we don't necessarily hear, it's like up here, right? Doesn't mean it's not acting on our body.
Yep.
Right. So oftentimes people that are more sensitive, they'll be getting more input to their body all the time, but they won't understand why. So if that was to go off all the time, right? So as we go through Reiki training, or you go through your spiritual practices, you start to clear some of the denser energies. And with the world the way it is, and we're raising the world's vibration at the moment, we start to open that range up, right? So whether it's awareness, whether it's vibration, right? You're starting to open that range up. So for me, as I started to open that range up, all of a sudden these ghosts and stuff are like here. And I start seeing them.
Yes.
And I was like, what do I do with that? And so, you know, it starts to expand. And that's, I mean, I think we're hearing more. It's my feeling anyway, maybe it's just because I work in this profession, but I feel that we're hearing more about ghosts and, you know, that type of paranormal stuff. And I really believe that it's because the earth vibration is raising, that all of our awareness is doing this very subtly, but it's much closer to these other frequencies because it's all frequency, right? So this range is a frequency range that we can hear, or a visual range that we can see. So as we raise our frequency, all of a sudden we have this greater awareness to those other energies that are around us. And so I mean, I'm sure you've talked before on your podcast about the clairs, right? So the clairvoyance being clear visual, clear audience, clear hearing. So those are all your senses, and it works for sentience as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not aware of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
When we start to raise our vibration, all of a sudden you feel more of those subtle energy changes.
Yes.
So whether it's a slight temperature change, or a slight tingling in the air, or there's like this bit of density as you put your hand through, those kinds of things are what started to come for me as I was on my journey. And so you have to start to protect yourself a little bit more, because of course you're more sensitive to these things, right? So ceremonies do that for me. So there are, I do a tubing thing every morning. If you raise your vibration, you keep it high, you're not intermingling with the lower, denser energies as much, right?
Yeah.
So it's not as much of a thing. But being a physical empath, when I do my work with people, I do have to have some kind of a tubing or protecting going on. Because I found out the hard way that you actually feel people's pain.
Yes.
I had early on in my Reiki, I think it was a level 2, and I was trying to get a handle on this family friend. He was coming over once a week for a few weeks because he had arthritis all over his body and it would move. And we were trying to give him some comfort. So he would come in and he'd just get on the table. We didn't talk about anything. And I'd start the Reiki, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh my goodness, my shoulder's so sore. It wasn't sore earlier. And then I'd be done and it would be gone. And then he would say to me, my shoulder's much better, thanks. I'd be like,
yes.
And this went on, and it was different body parts every week,
Yeah.
So I called my Reiki master. I'm like, what is going on? She's like, oh honey, you're a physical empath.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's a tissue box and get on with it.
Yeah. Well, she said, and that's actually what prompted me to continue on with my studies, really, right? Because once you're at that point, you're like, okay, well, I need to learn how to fix it, how to control it, how to do that, right? So, I don't know whether you'd like me to do like a little exercise for everybody to try.
That would be wonderful. That would be awesome. Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, so let's do a tubing. Okay. And what I want you to do is, all of you out there, close your eyes for a minute. And I'll just have you take a couple of deep breaths, and I want you to feel the space around your body. So that would be like your auric space, right? All of this energy that's around your body. Just feel that energy. Okay. Now we're going to call in a big tube of light. Now I work with the angels a fair bit, so we're going to use them today. And I just want you all to repeat after me. Okay. Archangel Michael.
Archangel Michael.
Archangel Gabriel.
Archangel Gabriel.
Archangel Uriel.
Archangel Uriel.
And Archangel Raphael.
And Archangel Raphael.
If it's appropriate.
If it's appropriate.
For as long as it's appropriate.
For as long as it's appropriate.
Please tube me.
Please tube me.
And just feel as the big tube of light comes down around you. And as we were saying, notice the different subtle changes in the air around you, whether it's temperature, density of the air. Notice those changes. Often people will feel like either a cold, because angelic energy can actually be super high vibration that it goes past heat into cold, or they'll feel a bit vibraty, or some people will feel like it's a big warm hug.
Yeah, for me, there was a lot of cold, and I feel the energy in my body, all around my body.
So the other thing is, if you're feeling like it's a little too much energy, I'd like you to envision that you have roots coming out of your feet, going all the way down into the earth, wrapping around a tree root or something, and then anchoring down to the crystalline core of the earth. So continue down through that earth, wrap around the crystalline core. And just ask the energies to give you exactly what you need today, and the rest transmute into Mother Earth. And how does that feel?
Wonderful. Very grounding, amazing, and incredible. Thank you.
My pleasure. So that's a quick and easy one that I do with a lot of my, like most of my clients. I end up seeing a lot of empaths, and usually by the time they get to mine, they're at that burnout point, you know, because if you think about it, even the body mechanics of being an empath, right? That it's a lot of drain on the adrenals.
Yes,
because it's like you're in fight or flight all the time. And so that's a bit, it's tough on the body sometimes. So that's, you know, if we can try to control sort of the input, because if you think about stuff coming at you all the time, that just puts your body in like, oh my God, what's going on? So if we do things, and simple little things like the tubing we just did, can really help to relax the energy and sort of pull you out of that fight or flight. And that's where the meditation and breathing and all of that stuff comes in as well, because it allows you that breathing time to pull you out of fight or flight. And that's super important for empaths and sensitives in general, really.
Yeah. Long-term listeners of the podcast know I always talk about meditation, grounding, breathing, and journaling, because those are the tools of personal leadership, of which Mindset Alchemy is part of it. So that was amazing. I really, really enjoyed that. Thank you, Tanys. That was incredible.
My pleasure.
Tanys, what do you feel your most significant impact to date has been for people? Can you hear me? I see my thingies going round and round and round.
I can hear you, yeah. Let me think about that first.
Nothing like having a question thrown at you, hey?
Significant impact. I would say, I would like to say that it's well, it depends on what area, I guess you mean, because I think that it's a larger impact is made of smaller impacts.
Yes, it is. Definitely.
Each client, I impact each client with their own, where they're meant to be. So I think that creates a greater impact. Yes. In terms of career-wise, I would say that starting the school has been a great impact for me. I was actually just recently honored as a finalist in the Businesswoman of the Year Awards, which was quite an honor. I was shocked, really. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So that was lovely. That was lovely. And it, you know, that was the overall, and it was merit-based. And so that was great. I say merit-based just because I had to send in a bunch of business stuff to them. So that was how the decision was made, people that don't know me or anything, right? I would say, so one impact I would say that is still processing a bit, which is fascinating to me. I had a download of a galactic energy. And I think this is going to become a greater tool as time goes on, as it becomes, people become more aware of it. So in 2019, I woke up one morning and it felt like my crown chakra had been burned. And I was like, what's going on? Right. And then I didn't really get much of a response, but you know, you just go about your day. I had a client that day who was a friend, thankfully, and she got on the bed and I did the Reiki session, and I noticed that my hands were like not tingly, but like kinetic feeling instead of my usual, like Reiki is very warm energy. So your hands get warm. Aqualead, which is another one that I do, it heals the water within the body and in bodies of water. And it feels more like wavy. you know, but this one was like kinetic feeling. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I broken? Like, what was this? What's going on? And so my friend gets up after and she's like, whoa, that was intense. And I'm like, are you okay? I might be broken. She's like, no, it was amazing. It was just really intense. I'm like, okay. So then I go to another friend's place in a couple of days and we're doing a soul retrieval share. And this energy started just as I was getting ready to go. And I'm like, what is this? And he goes, whoa. I said, I know. Am I broken? And he's like, no. And he's an angel communicator. And so he stepped in right away. And he's like, no, that's a new energy you're bringing to the earth.
Beautiful.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? And he hands me a paper and pen and he says, go write about it. I'm like, I had never done any automatic writing at this point. So I was like, I don't know what to do with that. He's like, just go and sit quietly and write what comes to mind. I'm like, all right. So I was already in like channeling space because we'd been doing journey work, and I go down to my car. It's a beautiful day. So I open the windows and I sit in my car and I'm like, all right, what do I need to know? Next thing I knew, I had 5 pages about a new healing modality called Nukti. When I asked them for a human name, I was given grief relief.
Beautiful.
So basically what it is, it's a Pleiadian energy. And it goes in and reprograms the cytoplasm within the cells. Because as we know, water and fluid is programmable by the Emoto study, right? When we look that up. So that reprograms the cytoplasm so that it doesn't hold on to the frequency of trauma and grief.
Yes.
And so I just used it for a number of years. I hadn't really, I wasn't sure what to do with it. So these things take time to gestate, I guess you could say. So I just kind of used it as I was going along. And then I guess, when would it have been? 2020 or 2021, sorry. In January, I kept getting hits that they wanted me to teach it. And I'm like, well, you haven't given me a manual. When you give me a manual, we'll talk, right? Then, of course, they sent 4 of my intuitive friends after me, all of them going, I really want to learn Nukti. I was like, of course you do.
It's nothing like pressure.
Yeah. Well, they
gentle guidance.
That's it. Yes. If they feel strongly, they'll get their message through.
They'll help you. Yes, I understand.
So I ended up scheduling it, and then of course they gave me a manual because by now I'm doing the automatic writing thing, and so it was quite interesting that through all of that process, I became a galactic ambassador. In the other dimensions. And then now I am a galactic ambassador with the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact, which is a 3D organization on Earth in the 3D that is working towards getting a change made with the UN in the Vienna Convention to create a more diplomatic environment for when the extraterrestrials do come down, or when they decide they're going to have a diplomatic mission. And I think they've already been here, but they they're not ready to announce them being here. And they're all about love and light. So this organization, it's really about creating love on the earth so that we can all accept all beings with love, right?
Yes.
And so that's why I got involved. It's very much like up my alley. And of course I have guides that are galactic guides because of Nukti, and so I work with them, and so that became a thing. So that was kind of an interesting journey as well, and the Nukti class played a role in that as well, and quite impactful. So yeah,
that's so beautiful, and it really fits in with your TLC, with the love and the light and the expansion of the energy. Tanys, it's been such a pleasure having you come and share about the energy that you've received, the giftings, and the impact you are making in life and other people's lives. What would you like to share as a, if you had one thing to say about your journey that could empower our audience, what would that be?
I would say, just because you don't know that you are intuitive doesn't mean you aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't really know until later in life. And when I look back now, I've had intuition all my life and realized that I was following it all my life. And don't be afraid to tap into that, because it's a beautiful synergy. You know, we have the perfect ability to pick stuff up and move it here, but we don't have perfect knowledge. And our guides have perfect knowledge, but they don't have the ability to do stuff. And we have free will. So the other thing is, make sure you ask your guides for help, because they can't interfere unless we ask.
That is something, and now I'm going to restart the whole conversation. We'll have to come back. That is something people forget, is you have to ask every day, not just once a month. And that makes a difference. Oh, Tanys, this has been such a gift. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate your time, you getting up early, and your effort and energy. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you so much. It's such an honor, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do in the world, bringing the light.
Thank you. And people, remember, reach out to Tanys and see how she can help you shift and change your energy, your life, and your impact on the world. After all, that's how we get to be a catalyst for success. Have a grand, glorious, and amazing day. Bye-bye.